Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. Just going to do your handover video on your Euramobil motorhome. It's a 58 plate, so 2008, and based on the 2.8 turbo diesel Fiat Ducato. Chassis plate's just here at the very front here, so we're weighing at 4 tonne on this particular one. So over the 3.5 tonne standard license limit, but under the 7.5 for the next one. Your white colour around this vehicle is 249, so Fiat 249, very standard for the motorhomes. On the left hand side here we've got your washer fluid, power steering fluid and engine coolant. Next door to that you've got the engine brake fluid, not the engine brake fluid, just the brake fluid, just there, and your engine oil just down here at the bottom. We've then got next door to that the engine oil dipstick just there. So all of your sort of levels and things like that are all over on that left hand side, which is always helpful. We've then got down here the air filter box here and access to your jump starting points under the bonnet. So you've got your positive terminal for jump starting here and your negative terminal just here. So the reason they put those under there as well, just so that you know, is that the engine battery sits under the floor inside the cab. So you just basically need to undo this little clip here, and there's a few other ones with big flathead screwdriver, but the battery sits underneath this little section here. So obviously not ideal for jump starting, which is why they fit the jump starting terminals under the bonnet, so you can get to them nice and easy. Bonnet release handle is just here inside the passenger door. Not much to show under these passenger seats, to be honest with you. There might be a couple of electrical bits and pieces, but not really anything that you should need to worry about. Diesel filling point is just here behind the passenger door on the near side. Next locker along is your gas locker. So in this particular locker you've got one standard 6 kilo propane bottle, and next door to that you've got an 11.5 kilo refillable gas load bottle. So the big kind of plus to doing it this way is that you have always got the option of having either. So if you can't get hold of any refillable gas, which you have to fill up from the refill point just here, if you can't get hold of any can't get to any refilling stations, you can always refill, or not refill, but replace these bottles. So this bottle will be here, this just stays where it is, whereas this one is interchangeable for other ones. So all you've got to do to turn these bottles on is turn them on from their valves. So turning it on is anti-clockwise round to the left. Same goes for this one here, anti-clockwise round to the left turns the bottle on. And if you want to, you can basically turn both of these on when you come to using it, because you've got a little changeover valve just there. So essentially when you come to changing, if you wanted to change this bottle out for a different one, all you have to do is undo this big nut here on the top of it, take the bottle out, swap it round and put the nut back on. You can then use it exactly as you've been using it up until now. You need to make sure that you turn the gas off, by the way, before you start driving the vehicle. It's always really important. Next locker along is also very important. So you've got obviously, as I said, you've got the refilling gas point just here, which is what that pipe is going into the van. But you've got your drain off valve. So you've got the waste drain just here. It does have there written on the floor, wastewater drain. And same size tube here on the right hand side. This is your freshwater drain. So you've got a big red handle on both of those to drain them both out. This is your freshwater pump as well as a couple of other little drains just next door to that for the pipes basically. So that is all of your fresh and wastewater drain off points just there. Freshwater filling point is this one just here, so you will need the key to open that up. Let me just grab that out of my pocket. So key goes in, twist it whichever way it will go, and then take the key out. You should then be able to push in and round to the left to release the cap. Same goes for locking it. Push in and round to the right until it stops. Pop your key back in, twist it whichever way it will go, take the key out, and now this cap will not come out, it just spins. All right, so that's now locked. We've then got the toilet cassette locker, which is locked as well. So to unlock this one, same key, goes in, twist it whichever way it will go until it moves. And then you press both buttons in at the same time to allow you to open up the locker. You've then got the cassette itself. So you've got a little yellow tab at the bottom here. Lift up on the yellow tab and that will then allow you to take the entire cassette out. Once you've actually got the cassette out, when you want to empty it, it's really simple. You just pull this out, you empty it from here obviously. When you're physically emptying it out from there, you should be holding down the little yellow button there at the back. And that's it. So you've got a freshwater flush on this one, so you haven't got any separate flush fluid to think about. So it is all nice and straightforward. Electric hookup point goes in here. So if you do have access to an electric hookup, it's always really helpful because it does mean that your batteries will be completely topped up all the time. At the back of the van, we've got your reversing camera up there, a huge 4x bike rack and tow bar at the bottom. So easily capable of towing, you know, plenty of weight on these ones. It's a proper PWS tow bar, and you know, it is being manufactured by a proper company, as you can probably tell. You've then got access to your leisure batteries down here from this rear offside locker. So leisure battery sits down here. There should be another one next door to it there as well. And you can just about get to the wiring for a few of these sockets and the external gas point, which is just here. So the gas point just here, it's a bullfinch style fitting, and so you basically pop this little piece off at the bottom to give you access to that, and you've got your valve at the top just to turn it on and off. This vent just here is for the boiler, so if you have got the boiler lit up on gas, you will be able to feel hot air coming out through the bottom of it. So that's basically just a way of double checking that it's definitely working if you wanted to. Same sort of idea with the fridge. So you've got these two vents just here. If you wanted to double check that the fridge was working on the gas, you can put your hand over this top right hand side here, and that will tell you whether or not it's actually lit. You have to excuse the cleaning bits and pieces, we're just in the middle of cleaning it. So a little bit of a random one on this particular vehicle. I'll just make sure there's nothing in there I've got to show you. Nope. So this little step to help you get in doubles up as the electrical area as well. So you've got basically on the right hand side here, this grey box is your battery charger. Next door to that is your main trip switches, and then next door to that is all of your fuses. So anything, you know, any issues of any electrical bits and pieces, it's all in here, nice and easy to get to, and it makes our life a lot easier when it comes to repairing bits and bobs. So let me just jump in the van now. A bit noisy out there today. Right, so in fact, I'll tell you what I'll do before I get into the back end and start showing you around that. I will just jump into the cab and show you what we've got going on in here. So we've obviously got your reversing camera screen just here on the right hand side. That works really nicely. You know, I've been using it to move it around the site and all that sort of stuff. Really nice and clear picture. You then got your 6-speed manual gearbox. Having that extra gear, the 6th gear, is really helpful. I know that it comes as a bit of a given nowadays on newer cars, but you know, it was always an extra that you had to pay for on these motorhomes. You then got a nice new looking single DIN Sony head unit there. We never really go through these, it's not really part of the habitation check, but you know, it looks relatively new to me. You've got air conditioning from this switch, which again is another thing which isn't always just a given. So always really nice to have that there, as well as all of your heater controls there in the middle. You can lock and unlock the cab from here inside, which is always really helpful, which you'll come to find out when you come to use it. And your hazard warning lights from there. You've got a button just here, which Euramobil have factored in. If you forget to put your step in before you drive off, it can be a bit of a ball ache to have to jump out and go all the way around and open the door and whatever. So you've got a switch just there. If you forget to do it, just press the button there and the step should come back in. As well as your electric adjusting mirrors and electric windows. Okay, so we'll just jump in now. So the layout of this particular vehicle is one that I absolutely love, if I'm honest. The overcab bed here also is one of the biggest ones I've ever seen. So much headroom, you know, really, really nice deep bed there, and an absolutely massive skylight above your head there. Obviously we've got it closed up at the moment, but there you go. So we'll start just here on the control panel. So it's, I think it's made by CBE, if I'm not mistaken, going by all the other sockets and the way that this looks. So CBE have been making these control panels and things for companies like this for years and years and years. Concorde use them, all the big players use them. So nice, good quality bits of kit all the way around this vehicle. So nice and easy to use, this particular one. So you've got a main on and off switch here on the top right, external lights, and power to the pump. So when you want to come into the van and you want to use everything, basically, if you want to use all your lights and you want to use the pump, just come in here, turn these three on here, and then you'll just, you know, you'll have 12-volt power to everything that needs it. You've then got on the left-hand side your freshwater level and your two battery voltages. The first one will be your leisure battery voltage, and the second one is the engine battery voltage. So both of those, as they stand, are absolutely fine. Being on 11.9 is still fine, but you know, it could do with having a hookup plugged into it just for a little while to charge it up a little bit. At the top there, you've just got access to changing the clock and things like that, basically. But that is it. That is the control panel. So now that I've got those three switches on the right hand side, and I've seen that we've got a full fresh tank of water, I will then come over to the tap here. And this is something that's really important to do every time you get into the vehicle. If you want to heat the water up, this is really important. So turn those three switches on, make sure you've got some water in the fresh tank, and just do exactly what I'm going to do here. Nice and easy. Pull the tap on the hot side, which is over to the left, and over to the right for the cold. When I turn this off, the pump should then pressurize and turn itself off. There you go. So that you've just seen there is absolutely perfect. So the water came through nice and clearly, no coughing, no splattering, and the pump turned itself off as soon as I turned the tap off. So that is always a sure sign that there's no leaks, you've got good pressure, and also that the boiler is full of water. So if I went to use this tap just then and pulled it on the hot side, no water would come through that tap unless the boiler was full. Okay, so and the reason that you have to do that, or the reason that it's important to do that, is that if you try and light the boiler up, so if I turn the boiler on now up here and the boiler was empty, then what will happen is it will overheat, because you're essentially trying to heat up nothing. So it's just the same as turning a kettle on without any water in it. You know, it's just going to overheat. So just by doing that, that's all you have to do. As long as the water comes through nice and clearly on both sides, you can then forget about it and just do whatever you want to do. Okay, so whilst we're still here, then I might as well show you how to use the boiler. Now obviously assuming that you've done what I've just shown you there. So it's a gas only boiler, so it doesn't work on the mains electric. And I will just say as well, this isn't actually dirt on my hands, it's just glue from yesterday, so it's not dirty. Right, so really simple how these Trumatic boilers work. So you've got down 1 is heating only, down 2 is heating and hot water at 60 degrees, up 1 is 40 degrees of hot water only, and up 2 is 60 degrees of hot water only. So basically, if you go up, you've just got hot water. If you go down 1, you've got heating. Down 2, you've got both. All right. So back in the old days on the older boilers, they would have winter setting down, summer setting up, and that was literally what they had. All right. So that you know, if you want to remember it that way, you go up for in the summer, down for in the winter. You know, that's up to you. So that's how the boiler works, nice and easy. And by the way, the reason that didn't light up just then is because I've literally just turned the gas on, so it won't have actually had a chance to, you know, draw the gas through to it just yet. So in that case, you would just basically turn it on and off maybe 2 or 3 times, and then it should come to life and start working. So we'll just put it on heating for, actually, I'll tell you what, I don't want it on heating at all. I want it on hot water. So that's how you use the boiler. And I will just point out as well that the boiler itself sits really, really easy to get to just down here in the wardrobe. You've also got on the right hand side the actual boiler drain itself. So the only time that you would ever actually want to drain the boiler out is if, you know, it was coming up to winter time and you thought that maybe, you know, you weren't going to get the water hot enough, or the, you know, essentially if you think it's going to get so cold outside that you think the water might freeze inside the vehicle, you need to drain the boiler out. And the way that you do that is just by pressing the little red button down, and that will then drain all the water out from inside the boiler. So that when you come to reusing it again, and when you want to fill it up again, lift that little red tab up and wait for the water to come through nice and clearly at the tap. And that is it. That's all you have to do. Okay. The next thing I will show you is the 3-burner hob. So you haven't got an ignition on either of or any of these hobs, so it's important to get like an igniter or like a clicker of some description on this one here. So you've got, the only thing I tend to run through on these is that you've got a little thermocouple, which is this little prong just here at the back of each of one of these, and in fact you've got a thermocouple on every gas appliance in the van. And all that the thermocouple does is it essentially senses the flame. And what that means is that if I turn this dial here now, no gas is going to come through that hob there unless I light it up by pushing it in and lighting it up with the clicker, and the thermocouple senses the flame. So all the time that the thermocouple isn't sensing any flame, this will not allow any gas to come through. Okay. So, other than that, we've got underneath there, we've just got absolutely tons of storage all the way across the van. This top little drawer just here is quite important. So you've got the 3 gas isolators here. So you've got the boiler, fridge, and the 3-burner hob. I only know that because of the little stickers that are on them. And so essentially, if you wanted to isolate the gas from a specific appliance, then this is where you'd come to. So if I thought, right, I think there's a gas leak coming from the 3-burner hob, I might come here and turn it 90 degrees so that no gas is going to come through to it. All right, so that is that. Next thing along is the fridge. So this is a Dometic 3-way fridge. Nice and simple how they work. You have got a little freezer compartment in the top just there. That little cap's just come off in my hand. 1 second. Just put that back on. Alright, that's broken, so I'll sort that in just a minute. Okay, so the 3-way fridge works very, very easily. So if you want to light it up on gas, turn it once to the right like that, and it will light up on gas. There you go, so that's now lit. As long as, when you turn it onto the gas, there's a couple of ways of making sure it's lit. I mean, as I said on the outside, you can put your hand over that vent and physically feel the hot air coming out, which you'll be able to feel now. Or if you've got it on gas just here and you've got a little amber light, if the flame doesn't light up, that amber light will start to flash. All right, so it'll just be constantly flashing at you. So if that is a solid amber light, it's lit. All right, and it physically has to have a flame on it in order for that to happen. So, you know, you can know for a fact that it's definitely working. If you've got the electric hookup plugged in, you would choose this middle one just here. And if you were driving and you wanted to use your 12 volt, you'd go down to the bottom for 12 volt. Now, the way that you have to use these fridges is a simple sort of idea, but I always have to explain it. So the only two ways that this fridge will get cold is on the gas or on the 240 volt electric, so your hookup. So the 12 volt, yeah, what I mean by that is that the 12 volt, all that really does is keep the fridge cold whilst you drive. So you need to pre-cool it before you leave, either on the gas or the 240 volt, and then switch over to 12 volt whilst you drive. And the reason for that is, if you imagine in the back of this fridge, there's two elements. One, pretty big element, and one very, very small one. Well, they're actually not a huge difference in size, but you've got 240 volts going to one and 12 volts going to another, so you can imagine the difference in power. Anyway, the 12 volt one, so the very, very last option there, the way that it actually works is that it basically takes power from your split relay, which is something that essentially draws power from the engine to charge up the leisure battery whilst you drive. So that all the time you're driving, the leisure battery is also getting a good charge up, as well as the engine battery. So the 12 volt switch there on the fridge just takes a little bit of power from that split charger and sends it over to the fridge to keep cold. So, all I'm trying to say is it will not get the fridge. If you turn it to 12 volt and drive somewhere, the fridge, it won't really get cold. It's not really powerful enough. So you just have to pre-cool it before you leave, switch over to 12 volt whilst you drive, and then when you get to where you're going, switch back to one of the other two. I feel like I just sort of rambled on for a little bit there, but hopefully that made sense. In the main wardrobe, as I said, you've got the boiler at the bottom there. Book pack with absolutely stacks of paperwork is in there. You've got a large tilt and turn TV aerial just there, and your status TV aerial booster with power. So the TV aerials isn't really something that we go through on the hab checks. It's not something that's kind of factory fitted, so that sort of will be for you to have a play with, but I've got no reason to think that it doesn't work. So there you go. There will, I'm sure there'll be paperwork for it in the paperwork there as well. So the bathroom, if I can see where the light switch is. No, I can't. Just here. So light switch just here as soon as you walk in. So quite a clever layout again in the bathroom. So you've got the shower unit over here. So the actual shower point to turn it on is just over there, and the actual shower head comes out from there. For a motorhome, if you haven't had one before, I will just say this is quite advanced sort of technology. I know nowadays, houses and stuff are quite normal to have this sort of thing, but for a motorhome, this is kind of unseen. So yeah, that's that. You've got two drains down here in the floor and all these little channels here to allow the water to run off nicely. The toilet is normally the only bit that I really run through in the bathrooms, because a lot of people wouldn't have used them before. Well, a motorhome toilet anyway, that is. So assuming that you've got your pump switched on at the control panel, which as we know we do, you should then be able to press this little blue button, which pumps around your flush fluid around the toilet, and you can then drain it out by pulling this handle towards us. That's now drained into the set, and then push it back. And that's how you use the toilet. Nice and easy. In the very back of the vehicle, we've got a really nice little U-shaped lounge. Now this table does drop down to make up a double bed at the back here. So really it's a 6-berth van. Well, it is a 6-berth van. So if you wanted to use that, you can do. It's just literally a case of pushing the table down with this handle here and then using up all of the cushions to make up the bed. You've also got loads of natural light coming in through these side windows. So if you did want to sit at the back here as a U-lounge, it's a really nice thing to have here as well. You could quite easily, if you wanted to, fit a TV onto here. Although I think, yeah, So in the past, people have had a TV just here, which I suppose makes sense, you know, because you could watch it from up here, sat in this lounge area here at the back, in the middle, sorry. But if you did want another TV fitted at the back just here, it would be super easy to do it in there, because you've already got your 12 volt power there, aerial socket there, and I've got no doubt there's probably some 240 volt power running up through that trunking as well. So it wouldn't be a big job whatsoever. So that might be something to think about for the future. There you go. So I think I have shown everything I can in this one. I don't think there's anything I've missed out. If there is, and you think I've missed anything out, or you want anything going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.